Hello and welcome to episode 95 of the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. I am your host, Caroline, and this will be the last episode that I get to film in Florida in my daughter's home, where I've been staying for a couple of weeks, watching over her home and taking care of her dog while she's on her vacation and very belated honeymoon and birthday. As a matter of fact, today is her birthday, so I hope you all will help me by congratulating her and wishing her many, many merry, merry memories for this special occasion. Anyway, I'm here in Florida and I have been working or continued to work on the projects that I started sharing with you on the last episode. And I'm going to go a little bit more into detail in how I've applied my newly acquired Freeform crochet skills to a new project, as a matter of fact, to two new projects, and give you a bit more detail in terms of how I have accomplished some of the embellishments and maybe even some of the things that I have needed to complete it, for example, for filling in and spaces, empty spaces, etc. And I am going to do that in today's episode. So let's begin. As usual, I present this section of Walking the Talk, where I share with you crochet items that I work into my everyday outfits. So, since I'm not at home, I do have a crochet outfit for you. Part of it is mine and part of it isn't. The blouse that I am wearing is another one of the favorite blouses that Clarissa has made over time. But this initial version is based on a pattern found in the magazine published by Interweave, which was called Vintage Crochet. Now, I don't remember the date. I don't have it with me. It might be around here somewhere. It should be around here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it is at the moment. So if I find it before this podcast goes up, I will put in the details and the description box below as usual. I can tell you that it was by Interweave, and you could probably find it simply by Googling Vintage Crochet Interweave if you're interested in it. I don't know if it's still available for purchase, but in this magazine was the top called Perky Peplum. Clarissa talked about her experiences working up the top in the episodes on her podcast, and I believe it was episodes 35 and 36 where she gave the details about her experience with the projects. And in one of the episodes, let me check. 35 and 36. I believe in episode 35, she had presented it as a work in progress, and in episode 36, she presents it as a finished object. But if you want the details of this wonderful blouse, you can go and check out those two videos of the Crochet Cakes podcast. So I am borrowing it. I think that I have borrowed it before when I have come to visit Clarissa, but I remembered that what can I wear that I've always coveted from her wardrobe, and this was one of the things. Now the earrings that I am wearing to accompany it, the pattern that I worked up here is a newly designed pattern because actually it comes from my experiences over the past couple of weeks with a new, it's not exactly new, but I think it's the first time where I have practiced it in depth, and it is the Boolean stitch. So this is the Boolean stitch spiral earring. I guess I'll call it that. the Boolean stitch spiral earring. I've got another one made up here, which will be easier for me to show you without me having to take this one off. And so this is what it looks like. I'll see how close I can get up to it without going out of focus. This one was worked up in this thread that I shared with you the last time. It's Baroque Crochet Cotton, super mercerized and color fast, and it's from DMC Corporation. Now, Clarissa has found it somewhere on super clearance, and I do believe she has more than one of these around there, but I really like this thread for working up earrings because it's very sturdy. This is another earring pattern that I will put up on my blog. It is not, as I will tell you in a moment, that it's not original, 100% my original invention. I'll tell you where I got the instructions for doing the spiral, which that is the most important part of how to get the spiral and the Boolean stitch. And then using that tutorial, I kind of like adapted it to be able to make an earring with this thread. And this is made up with a 1.5 millimeter hook, and I think it works up very well. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Boolean stitch later on in the podcast. But anyway, continuing on, let's talk about a couple of elephants that are in the room. Let me say first of all that the portrait is not sewn to this jacket. It is simply there because it was the easiest way that I could find to share it with you. But my plans for her are maybe not to put her on a jacket. I might. I mean, this jacket is here. Clarissa found it at a thrift store, and so she kept it in case I was interested in it. And she could go there. All other plans, I thought maybe I would just make her into a pocketbook. Either square her out or round it out and make like a round purse that I could carry around. I thought that might be okay too. Or I might just put her into a frame and keep her as a painting. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about leaving her here and having this be Clarissa's birthday present, because she used to have an African woman that she created it was in her room at home. She created it with magazine roll up. She took magazine pages and rolled them up really tight and put them together to create the image. And it got ruined in the room, the dampness of the room where she slept, and it was on the wall, and it got ruined. Something kind of like leaked into it. I don't know. And so I had to get rid of it. And so then I decided to make this one. Unfortunately, I think I used this color here was too, this is what I wanted to do. Because I really wanted to do a darker skinned image. But I thought I was choosing this one, and I chose a lighter one. So that was unfortunate, but that's okay. For future projects, we can take that into consideration. So since the last time you saw her, obviously I filled in all of it. We had a lot of gaps still from last week. So in addition to filling in everything, because she's complete, I'll talk about some other things that I did here. For example, one section that I'm particularly happy with was this beginning of the scarf section and the ties. I thought that looked really nice. I liked the way it looked. I thought it actually looked like something should look in freeform crochet. So I've got spirals up here with the Boolean stitch, and then I've got sort of a leaf figure down here with the Boolean stitch, and the ends of my scarf here, where the scarf is tied, are also leaves done in Boolean stitch. So as you can imagine, Boolean stitch has been a big thing for me this week, because I've been trying to use it a lot. You can see it again up here, And you can see it again up down here. So on the image here, I had spirals, which I could have done, but as I did here, but I preferred to do the Boolean stitch just to give it a little bit more depth, in terms of more texture, etc. So I have two little snippets for you. The first one is about how to make the Boolean stitch, and not the Boolean stitch spiral, because that spiral and many other of the leaf also, I believe, and the button here, I referenced ElenaRugalStudio on YouTube, and she must have the largest collection of freeform crochet videos to create scrambles. Remember, the scrambles are the part of your freeform finished piece. And I think they're over 40, in addition to having separate videos with elements, for example, like buttons. And so I am going to also reference that channel, that YouTube channel, in the description box below, so that you can go there and just, even if you're just going to look, because you're not going to want to make anything, you've decided this is not for you, even if you're just going to look, there are amazing pieces there. She really is an expert crocheter, I have to say. Her pieces are beautiful, and her stitches look lovely. The combination of the size of her hook and the yarn she uses, she works with everything, I believe, from acrylic, cotton, and wool also, and her pieces always look very elegant, and they're just so appealing. Her choice of colors, it's just a great channel to visit, even if you just want to sit around and scroll through things, but you don't really want to sit down and make anything. So yes, a lot of what I am doing today is from her channel, and so I didn't go through how to make the Boolean spiral, because she does that, and she does it a lot better than what I'm going to do it. But I did give you an example of how to make the Boolean spiral, because I wanted to title today's episode Interesting Things That I Found While Raiding My Daughter's Stash. But that title was a bit too long. Maybe I'll just call it Raiding My Daughter's Stash. But I really just wanted to mention some of the interesting things that I found there. One of them was this hook. I don't know if you've seen one of these before. It's called a latch hook. In addition to loving the color, I have one at home, but it's in wood. As a matter of fact, the one I have at home, I think she gave to me. But it's called a latch hook because this little latch here opens and closes as you crochet. And it is used for latch hooking, which is a craft in itself. But I wanted to show you how to use it to make a Boolean stitch. Now, I am not the only one who knows how to do this. There are many videos on YouTube, many tutorials for using the latch hook to make the Boolean stitch. But I think in what I present to you here, I show you three ways in which you can make the Boolean stitch. Using the latch hook, which is convenient for thicker threads, for thicker yarns, or just using a regular crochet hook, which can be convenient. Sometimes I'm faster with just a crochet hook. Of course, what I can do and how large I can make my Boolean definitely will depend on the size of the shaft, because in an ergonomic crochet hook like this one, I don't have a lot of space to wrap my yarn. And the third one is using a method found on Elena Rugal's, or actually demonstrated on ElenaRugalStudio on YouTube. And so, yeah, I wanted to compare how my Booleans look in each of those techniques. So I'll show that to you now. So to make a Boolean stitch with this latch hook, it takes a bit of practice, but it does give you Boolean stitches that look a lot more neater. Well, I'll just say it gives me Boolean stitches that look a lot neater than if I were to simply try and do it with my hook. So, not everyone agrees on how to do this. I guess everyone adapts what is most comfortable and most productive for them. So I'm just going to repeat one way that I've seen it done and the way that I do it. So I'm going to wrap 5 times. I'm going to push them up slightly with my thumb. Kind of want to keep those there. And then I'm going to try and go into my next stitch, keeping the latch closed with my thumb. There it is. Opening it up. Usually, a lot of times it'll open by itself, but if it doesn't, you just open it, pull through, and once that's done, it's just a matter of pulling the latch hook through all of your loops, and then at the end, a chain 1. So I kind of like fiddle with this latch with my fingers. I've seen a lot of other people that don't do that, but for me, it's what works to keep my latch closed and have my latch open at the right moment. So one more time, I need my loop to the back, close my latch, wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm trying to keep them loose. Whoops. See the way my latch opened there. I try to keep my wraps loose, but I'm a tight crocheter, so sometimes it's very hard for me. I'm going to go into the next stitch, and if it's difficult for me, it's only because I'm looking over a camera while I do this. It is actually not as difficult as all that. So they're not as loose as I would like them to be, but I'm going to try and keep that little latch closed while I push it with my index finger so I can get it through all of my loops. Now, the difficult thing about doing this with a regular crochet hook, I still have one to go. I guess I could show you why I find it difficult. I've seen other people do this beautifully, but I've never been able to imitate. So let me just make sure that I'm okay with this. Am I not? Yeah. I need 10, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as loose as I can, which for me is not very loose because, as I say, I'm a tight crocheter. Again, I just go into that, pull it up, and now the thing is getting it through all these loops because they're not loose enough to just roll off like they did with the latch hook. So I'm going to need to go through them one at a time. 1, pushing them sort of like with this ring finger at the back. 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've seen some people stop here and pull through both of these loops, and I have seen some people go all the way through and pull through the last, imitating what we actually do with the latch hook. Now, and then the way the instructor does this is she makes a double crochet in the back loop, and then she works around this double crochet, picking up her yarn once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and a 5th time, 5 times, and then she goes into the stitch, the bottom of that double crochet that she actually created, and then brings up a loop, and then that loop I can yarn over and pull it through all my loops, which is a little bit faster if you ask me, if it weren't for this splitty yarn that always catches onto something. But it also creates a Boolean. Look at these Booleans and look at hers. Now, this totally depends on the yarn that you're using. If you're using a thinner yarn, then they actually might look better. But this yarn is so thick, and maybe my hook is even too small for this yarn, I don't know. I'm using a 4 because she used a 4. But yeah, I will say that that is obviously going to be a thicker, bulkier stitch because you're working around a double crochet. Well, I hope you were able to see how I used each of the tools that I was using to make the Boolean stitch, and I hope that you got something from it. If nothing else, hopefully you got I'm going to go see a better video on this and how to do this. Well, hopefully at least you were motivated to go and look into that. So I've used the Boolean stitch a lot this week. In addition to the Boolean stitch, another thing that I found in my daughter's stash that really caught my attention were the different types of novel yarn that she has collected. I'm pretty sure that she just goes to thrift shops or yarn shops, and if they have a novel yarn on clearance, she bought it, even though she had no idea what she was going to do with it, because her collection is pretty big. It's pretty big. And so I want to share some of what I saw with you in a moment. But for now, I am going to mention simply another resource that I found online. Let me see, where it was at. rensfiberart.com. rensfiberart.com has an excellent, truly helpful blog post. It's a blog post on how to embellish your crochet. So she talks a lot about how to use the different yarns that I found in my daughter's stash to embellish your crochet. And so, as you can see here, I've added beads, which is a type of embellishment that I have used before. And in other videos, I have shown you how I normally attach my beads using a very tiny crochet hook, either a 0.6 or a 0.75. And on the blog post that I mentioned, they do reference to stringing all of your beads onto a thread, tying the corners so your beads won't fall off, placing your strand of thread with the beads over your work where you want to connect it, and then simply go in and out around the thread, around the beads, to attach the strand to your work. And that's another way that I had never thought of attaching beads to your work. So adding beads, you notice here there's a button, and I also added beads around the button as I normally do with my crochet earrings, which, I use that small hook to pick up the bead and then crochet into the single crochet border that my bead has. And then I put it here to embellish this little section of my portrait. And I thought that was very nice. Other ways to embellish are to use, for example, here, what they call a top stitch or a surface crochet. In this case, I am using Fun Fur yarn, Fun Fur from Lion Brand. I was just looking to see, they call this Flamingo. And I don't know, I really, really like the color for some reason. And so I thought that would brighten up my colors, because all my cottons are from this cottony, the mini cottony that I purchased online, and they're not very bright colors. They're kind of like dull, and so I thought that really helped to make the piece look more like it's supposed to be. Fun and happy. Another way to embellish our work is, for example, here. If you remember this section of, well, I don't know if you could remember because I don't know if I had that one done. But anyway, this section of the cap on my portrait, I had these round, like sort of like circles, or they might be holes, I don't know. So what I did was a filet crochet round or row, and then I went through the filet crochet with this ribbon, which was another ribbon that I found in Clarissa's stash, but I found this one before I found this one. And so I am seriously considering removing the red and adding this one. Because the section is blue, I thought the blue and the gold might look extra pretty. I actually went back and forth through my filet crochet, I think 3 times. Now you have to be careful, because one of the things that I think that I did was that I pulled my ribbon a little bit too tight, and so that kind of made my piece pucker up. So you need to be careful, because you don't want that to happen. You always want I wanted my portrait to be flat, so I did not want it to pucker up. So you need to be careful with that. Anyway, let's see, another type of embellishment mentioned is the fact that you take a thread and sew around it, as I told you. But in this case, I wasn't looking for a novelty thread. I was simply trying to use a very thin thread as a matter of fact, it was a strand of thread that I removed from this cotton, which was too thick to use. And then I sewed around it to make that line in the mouth, which is similar to what I have on my portrait. And I think it enhances the mouth and kind of like makes it look better. So I've done that also. Okay, so I think I've talked a lot about this piece, and I probably could go on for ages, but I'm not going to, because I want to share the second piece that I worked on this week, which was, there's the first abstract painting in the background. I haven't had the heart to put her away either. I've been working on this week the messenger bag that I told you that I wanted to cover in Freeform Crochet. And so I'll show it to you for a moment. This is a project where I kind of like sat down with Elena Rugal's channel videos, and I looked at her different scrambles, and I said, oh, I want to make that scramble. Oh, I think I want to make that. And I just came up with a collection of scrambles that I wanted to put together for the back of this. A little bit lower. Do I need to put it a little bit lower? Okay. Well, you can see. So this is not sewn to the back of the of the bag. It is merely kept in place with pins so that I could see where I needed to fill in and what pieces could connect and what sizes of stitches I should use. So unfortunately, it's not finished. Unfortunately, because I will be traveling to Alabama on Tuesday morning, and I don't know how I'm going to take the yarn that I need to finish this. I don't know. But I'm going to leave that to think about after the podcast is over. So here it is. Let's see. I have in the description box referenced the different tutorials, a number of the different tutorials that I used from Elena Rugal's channel. And so you'll find this one has been mentioned. You'll find that this blue one has been mentioned. you'll find that this yellow one has been mentioned. You'll find that this orange and the purple ones have been mentioned. This one, I just created it on my own as I did this one. But what I wanted to show you was the idea of, I sat down with this Freeform Crochet project and I was a little lost. Where do I start this? What do I do? So I said, I'm going to start making scrumbles, and I went to this Elena Rugal's channel, and I just started making scrumbles that she has in different tutorials. Now, what I learned was that you can make the scrumbles that somebody else has made, but you won't necessarily be able to use them as you want. The important thing to keep in mind is that whenever you make a scrumble, you should always try and finish off a nice or single crochet edging or certified that the edging that it has will allow you to connect that piece to other pieces. Because, for example, a lot of her pieces, Elena Rugal's pieces, finish with a crab stitch edging. And if you do a crab stitch edging around the piece, the crab stitch edging is a stitch. So there is a stitch there. That stitch is not easy to see and is at the back of your work. So it will not be easy to connect it to something else. You can do it, but it won't be easy. So I found that out after I've done a lot of these pieces. So I went back and I ripped back that crab stitch border and either left what they had. For example, the Boolean border is okay. The Boolean border, it has stitches at the top that you can connect to. But if it didn't, then I did a single crochet border. Now, in addition to that, I wanted to outline all of my pieces in this blue, dark blue color. I wanted that to happen. So I went back to the pieces that I made with the help of Elena Rugal, and I made an edging around the piece, my final edging, usually just a single crochet border with the yarn. And then that made it a lot easier. If this had a single crochet border and this piece had a single crochet border, then it made my work of attaching them, a lot easier. And so my little amoeba here, I did not need to do a single crochet border around the amoeba because the amoeba has Boolean stitch, and the Boolean stitch has the stitch at the top that I could connect to. But here my leaf has a border, and here this blue piece has a border, and the flower at the top has a border, so I connected to all those borders using the slain blue yarn. So that is important, I think. I think it just makes your life easier if you don't need to do as I do to use this color. I purposely wanted to highlight where these things joined. And then that left me with pieces in the middle that I'm going to have to fill in. I can fill it in with the blue like I did here. And like I did over here. Or I can do like I did here and fill it in with some shape that fits exactly in that piece. This looks like a rabbit to me. So maybe I could make a rabbit and put the rabbit in there. The piece that you're going to put in there has to be slightly smaller than the space so that you have room to connect. Even with slip stitches, you have to have some room to connect, because if not, it's going to bulge. And I learned that the hard way also. Another thing I found in my daughter's stash were magazines. When you're looking for freeform crochet ideas for your scrumbles or for your different pieces, one place to look could be stitch dictionaries or magazines, because even though you don't want to make the entire project of the magazine might have a project that can be useful to you. For example, in Clarissabeth's stash, because yes, she has a magazine stash, she has a yarn stash, she has a fabric stash, she has things in her stash that I don't even know what I could use them for. I don't even know what they're for, let alone think outside the box and use them for something else. But anyway, she has a large enough, she has a collection of magazines. One of them was this accessories issue from the magazine Crochet. She was featured in this magazine. If you remember, she had a hat pattern published here. Black diamond hat that I also made. And then looking through this magazine, I saw this project. I found a pattern for a throw. It's called the Autumn Midnight Throw. There it is. And it had instructions for this half square that I needed or I wanted to put in the corners of my of the back part, what is going to be the back part of this messenger bag, the crochet part, because I just wanted to give it some form. I wanted to be able to keep the rectangular or the square form, rectangle, I guess, the rectangular form, without having to always look back at the, as a matter of fact, at this point right now, without even having to have it attached and pinned down to the bag itself, because crocheting on top of this bag is keeping it there is a pain, because I get pricked by the pins, and you can't always move the piece around the way you want to. So anyway, I wanted to add that rectangular structure to it, so I added these two corners, which were the only corners that I actually had available, and I got that, the instructions for that. I didn't have to freeform it. I got the instructions from this from that pattern in this magazine. So that's another use for your patterns in Freeform Crochet, the idea that you can use pieces of a pattern to work up. For example, on this magazine, this one is Crochet World, that somebody donated to Clarissa. Somebody sent it to her. They have this throw, which, well, it's actually a rug, but I really do love the spiralized hexagons. I thought that would look very nice for an earring also. Anyway, so those are my adventures this week. Here is a piece that I like a lot, which is, let's see if I can bring it in a bit closer, which is a Tunisian crochet leaf. The tutorial is also found on ElenaRugalStudio channel. And I really wanted to have some noticeable, because there are little sections around here where I have used skills from Tunisian crochet, but I really wanted a section to be in Tunisian crochet. And she had that leaf, and I thought that would go very well in that corner. But I had to do some stash diving into Elizabeth's stash. And in her stash, she also had this one, another boy metal hook, 2.75. And so with this hook, I was able to make this leaf. Because the staff is long enough, it's got a great thumb rest, which is great for Tunisian crochet, because when you're doing, you're coming back, the back pass. When you're doing the back pass, it's great to have something to hold on to so that you can pull your hook through two loops at a time. So that was excellent. I think it was a great find. There's something different about it though. I don't find the tip to be as pointy as I remember stainless steel hooks were, but I really didn't want to go to Joann's and buy a set. So yeah, this did the job. I was able to make this lovely leaf. And so now I'm thinking about, well, what if I had a freeform project, just leaves. I just think that would be great also. So if you don't have one of these in your stash because you went all crazy over the ergonomic hooks, I mean, this is my favorite hook, the tulip hooks. I was hoping Elizabeth would find them in Japan and bring them back to me, but I don't think she did. But she has a complete set here, which I have also been envying all week long. So some of them are missing, but I'm pretty sure they go like from 325. I'm not sure if they have a 275, but from 325 up. So it's got a 325, 3.5, 375, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, up to the 6. Those are my favorite hooks. Actually, I should put this one back because I don't want to make the mistake of taking it home with me. So I've been using 2 of her hooks that I need to put back here. I don't want to take that home with me. And it comes with scissors, and it comes with these needles that I've also been using a lot this week to sew in all those ends. And it's just, if you ask me, it's a great set. Would I have everything in this? No, because I use a lot of small hooks. So I like my 2.75, 2.5, 2.25, 1.75, 1.5. I like those sizes also. And I'm not sure that Tulip does those sizes. Okay, so those are amazing things that I found in Elizabeth's stash this week, and that have really helped me out a lot to make all the different pieces or scrambles that I wanted to add to this. As I said, I am going to have to complete it by filling in what's left, but what is left is a lot less than what I have to go, and I learned a lot from it. Because, I mean, I hope that I haven't been, but it is inevitable that we get the message, because I come here one week and I've had a lot of time on my hands these past 2 weeks, and I showed you something that I began last week and it's already finished now, but this takes a lot of time. The reason it's all done is because I've worked long hours on it, a lot of hours during the day. So if you don't have a lot of crochet time during the day, it doesn't mean you can't work on it. It just means you have to be patient. It's better in that sense to be a process crocheter where you enjoy the process of creating this type of things, because they take a lot of time. If you are a product crocheter where the only thing you're interested in is seeing the end product, then, I mean, it's going to be nerve-wracking for you. It's going to make your anxiety worse because of the fact that you're only interested in finishing. And these things take a lot of time, because I start something and don't look right. I have to frog it back. Do it again. Still doesn't look right. Frog it again. And I keep on doing it and frogging it until it works out. This particular piece here, I can't even remember how many times I worked on it until it actually fit the space that I wanted it to fit. So that's not the only thing that I've been doing this week. I will be traveling to Alabama. As I told you, I wanted to take something for my grandchild. And in the same magazine that I showed you originally, the crochet, I saw this turtle and I fell in love with it. I want to make that turtle. So I did begin it. And I will show it to you because probably if I share it with you on the next podcast, it will already be finished. So I did begin it. But Clarissa had a lot of greens, but she had all of her green yarns in a basket under her desk. And that made me think that she had it reserved for a particular project, so I didn't dare use it. But she had this purple in her stash, which I had no idea why she would have purple in her stash, because Clarissa does not like purple or pinks. That's why it surprised us so much when she made this one. But purple? Why would she have purple? Now, I like to do things realistic, but guys, I think that looks very pretty. Now, I finished with this yarn. This was a Premier yarn in purple. And I finished with this one, this was one of those velvet yarns. I might have also been from Premier. And then the lighter color, which I'm just starting with, is this one, which is from Red Heart Super Saver. Probably Orchid. It's called Orchid. This is the yarn that you use the most, because in this yarn you do the legs, you do the head and the bottom, and so I don't know. I won't be able to finish it before I leave, so I don't know. I might have to take that one with me. Oh, jeez. It's been great speaking with you this week. I know I'm a little bit past my time, but I did have so much that I wanted to share with you, and so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to thank you for being with me. And I'll remind you that caring is sharing. So if you care about the way this podcast continues into the future, you could do the favor of liking it, giving me a thumbs up. And you could also comment down below so that we can actually have a conversation and exchange of ideas over what I'm making, or maybe over what you're making also. You could also share this episode with other people that you know, somebody who you know, who you think would, oh, this would be a great episode for somebody. And just use the share button beneath the video, and you can share the link with somebody who you think might also enjoy our conversations. So maybe you could do that for me this week. In addition, keeping in touch and maintaining our interaction will also help me to get better reviews from YouTube and to be able to reach out to more people. So thank you for watching today. I hope you have taken something from our conversation that will make your day a little better, and your future days, the days to come, may be a little bit more interesting by experimenting with some of the things that I have presented here. But no obligation, only if you want to. In the meantime, until we meet again, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, and of course, keep crafting. Bye for now.